After a few funny days in Barcelona, I'm back to reality and I continue my journey through Python regular expressions. The first task I was trying to accomplish was to obtain the links from the source page of HTML document. So to do that, actually, it's not that easy using regular expressions. It's a bit cumbersome due to the variety of ways certain things can be encoded in HTML. Here's what I mean. If I have an example of a source code of a web page from Toyota, for example, the links are usually encoded using this method. So I have this anchor, and I just copy that. So this is how it starts. Even that is actually problematic because the href, so it starts with the tag left-hand side brackets. This bracket and age is followed by href equal to, and that character could be single quote or double quote. What follows is usually something like colon, // and some name, let's say .com, and it ends with this, and there's some sort of, this link is blah, some description that is displayed on the web page. So I was trying to figure out how to actually make it work. I sort of did, but it's still very cumbersome. Now there's probably a better way of doing this, and I read something about Beautiful Soup library or module that can be imported in Python, and I'll try to tackle that later. But for now, something did work though. So out of the web page, I could obtain, let's say if I keep going here. So this is, for example, one of the HTML tags. I did obtain some of the links. Are these all links? I'm not quite sure. Probably not. That's why there must be a better way of doing it. So here's my code so far, which sort of works. I tested that on two different web pages. So let's add one more page. So first I'm importing the regular expression module, then I'm importing the urllib.request module, which handles the web requests. So Python pretends to be the web browser asking or requesting the web page to be downloaded, and the source code will be inspected for links. So here's how it goes. This is the first web URL. Let's create another one. I'll copy that and paste it in. Copy that, paste it in. Let's change it to toyota.com. So it's www.toyota.com. So let's just go for Toyota first. I'm gonna comment out the second one. So this is my web URL, and the variable contains the address of the web page I want to download. What follows is the HTTP header. So let's make it maybe a little space here, which contains this string of information. Now I took this out of the web using the search engine. User agent is one of the headers that can be presented in when the web browser is requesting the web page. Now, important thing is to include it, otherwise Python includes itself. And I noticed some applications, some web applications, will reject that Python header if it's not Firefox or some Internet Explorer or some Safari or whatever. So this is presented to the application, so it thinks that it is actual a web browser requesting the page. So this could be using operating system here, Linux. So I included two just so I know that there's two possibilities. For example, Linux. There's another one which is commented right now, is not going to be used, but this one is presenting that the web browser comes from Windows, and there's a Firefox version or what have you. Now, so this, if this is presented to the application, we have less chances to be rejected. The page will be downloaded to our program. So what happens is I have three variables: the address of a URL, the header that will be presented to the web application, so it thinks it's a regular web browser, and the request variable will contain the request now, which uses two pieces of information. This is the web URL we're going to be using, the address of the web page, and the header presented. Once I have this request variable with those two pieces of information created using method request, I am trying to download the web page and store in the variable content. This is done via URL lib request URL open. So this is the module, and this is one of the methods in the module. I present what should be sent to the application, which is the request web page and the header. And upon receiving the reply, we read the content we receive from the web application, and we decode it using UTF-8 method, so it's better in terms of the regular expression. Otherwise, it could be encoded and we wouldn't be able to obtain anything. Finally, what I'm doing here is, let's just make a space here. I create a pattern variable which uses the regular expression compile, and this is the pièce de résistance here, which is the, let's just copy that maybe for a moment and break it down a little bit. Now this has been done via trial and error. I failed miserably a few times before I got some output. So what I'm doing in the regular expression is I'm creating two groups. The first group here contains the anchor. So this is the HTML stuff, which can start with this angle brackets a space href is equal to either single quotes, which has to be escaped, or the actual quotation marks. Some web pages using single quotes, some web pages using links with quotation mark. So what follows, this is the first group, and this is not something I'm interested in displaying later. The second group in parentheses, so groups are basically enclosed in parentheses. What follows is equal to HTTP or HTTPS, mostly HTTPS, but just some of the links could be still HTTP. That's why the question mark here, which means that the previous character S is optional. Could be or does not have to be there, followed by colon, // and there's a first class. The first class could be either a word character or / or some digits, or actual dot, which needs to be escaped here with a backslash, or dash. Technically it could be also underscore. I didn't do that for those two pages because they didn't use underscores, but technically I should probably use that as well. Followed by, so this class is followed by the asterisk, which means 0 or more repetitions of each of these characters in the class. What follows is usually something like .com or .edu or .something. So I have this dot here, again, in the class, in the square brackets, the class. The character could be a dot, escaped, or a word character, \W stands for word character, or a hyphen, and again, repeated 0 or more times. So this is how it works. So let's go for the first one. So the first one is going to be this Toyota. Okay, if I just say, okay, save this and go back to my Python 3 fun, it gets some links from this Toyota. I haven't checked if all of them are listed here, but at least I got some output. Let's change the URL to a different web page. So now let's go to this blog, for example, which has more links. And if I go for clear Python fun.py one more time, I'm getting more links here as well. So somewhat difficult to do using regular expressions. I'll do two more things. Maybe I'll try to see if I can obtain let's say maybe email addresses and phone numbers using similar methods. And then I'm going to switch to Beautiful Soup, which is the module written particularly for dealing with HTML code, source code, when it comes to finding some information to see if I am more successful than with this one. This one was typical trial and error. So tomorrow maybe I'll try to use regular expression to obtain maybe two more things, and then I'm gonna try to switch to beautiful soup.